At 7:23 p.m. on a rainy Tuesday, Marcus Sterling sat alone in Chicago's most expensive restaurant, wearing clothes from a thrift store. He wasn't there for the food. He was hunting for something his $10 billion couldn't buy: honesty. But in a world of fake smiles and calculated kindness, his search felt hopeless. The napkin would arrive in 47 minutes. The 4 words scrawled inside would stop his heart and threaten to bring his entire empire crashing down. The transformation had taken place in a gas station bathroom 3 blocks from the Platinum Grill. Marcus Sterling, CEO of Sterling Global Holdings, vanished behind thick-framed glasses and a worn corduroy jacket with frayed elbow patches. His usual $1,000 suits hung in a penthouse closet, while he pulled on faded jeans, soft with age, and scuffed work boots that had seen better decades. The mirror reflected a stranger, not America's youngest self-made billionaire, but Jim, a man who might struggle to make next month's rent. The anonymity felt like cool water on burned skin. This ritual happened at every few months. Marcus would shed his corporate armor and walk among the people who actually made his empire function. Tonight's destination was personal: the Platinum Grill flagship restaurant of his hospitality division. His COO, Arthur Pendleton's quarterly reports praised flawless service and record revenues. But numbers on spreadsheets couldn't measure a restaurant's soul. The brass doors felt heavier in the evening rain. Inside, crystal chandeliers cast golden light across white tablecloths where Chicago's elite carved into steaks that cost more than most monthly car payments. The air hung thick with the scent of seared meat, aged leather, and expensive perfume. Candace, the hostess, embodied the restaurant's aesthetic: statuesque blonde with a smile bright as surgical steel. Her eyes swept Marcus's thrift store ensemble with barely concealed disgust. "Good evening. How may I help you?" Her tone suggested he'd wandered in by mistake. "Table for one, please." She hesitated, manicured fingers dancing across her tablet screen. "Do you have a reservation?" "No. Is that a problem?" The smile tightened into something resembling dental work. "We're typically fully booked on Tuesday evenings. Let me see what we have available." Her performance was Oscar-worthy, tapping the screen with exaggerated concentration, sighing softly, brow furrowing with concern. Classic theater, designed to communicate what an enormous inconvenience this was. "I can seat you at a small table near the kitchen entrance. It's all we have." The restaurant's Siberia, where management banished the unworthy. "That's perfect, thank you." Marcus followed her past occupied tables where conversations paused as diners registered his presence. Their curiosity mixed with disdain. He was an anomaly in this curated environment, a dandelion in a rose garden. He felt their judgment like physical touches, familiar bitter resentment coiling in his gut. This was the world he'd built, a world that measured human worth by thread count and Italian leather. The table wobbled on uneven legs tucked into an alcove where swinging kitchen doors provided percussion of banging pots and muffled shouts. Worst seat in the house. Absolutely perfect. From his corner vantage point, Marcus could observe the restaurant's true machinery. He watched servers move with predatory grace, smiles calibrated to perceived wealth. A manager in an ill-fitting suit worked the room like a politician. Raymond Hayes, according to corporate files. Hayes exuded oily charm that never reached his cold eyes, laughing at patron jokes while barking sharp orders at cowering busboys. Marcus settled into invisibility, finally able to see clearly. The subtle dance of class and expectation, the performative deference, the transactional kindness. Exactly what he'd expected from his empire's flagship: polished surfaces with nothing underneath. He'd been nursing water for 10 minutes when she appeared. Sofia Rodriguez moved differently than the others. While her colleagues projected hard professional sheen, she seemed softer, almost fragile. Early 20s, with intelligent brown eyes and chestnut hair pulled into a severe ponytail. Her uniform was spotless, but showed wear. The white apron faded at creases, buttons slightly loose from countless washings. What struck Marcus most was the tremor in her hands as she placed bread on his table. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, weariness her polite smile couldn't quite conceal. "Good evening, sir. I'm Sophia, and I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you with something to drink?" Her name tag confirmed it, Sophia. It suited her. Classic, strong, unpretentious. Marcus deliberately ordered the cheapest beer on the menu, watching for any flicker of disappointment or subtle judgment. He saw none. Her expression remained steady, professional, genuinely pleasant. "Of course, sir. I'll be right back with that." As she walked away, Marcus noticed details that Arthur Pendleton's reports had never captured. Her shoes, standard black non-slips, but the soles worn nearly smooth leather, cracked and peeling near the toes. These were the shoes of someone who spent 14-hour shifts on her feet, someone for whom a new pair represented a luxury she couldn't afford. It was a small detail that told a bigger story than any quarterly earnings statement. When Sophia returned with his beer, she moved with the same quiet grace she'd shown at table 12, where 3 executives in $1,000 suits were finishing appetizers. "Have you decided on an entree, Sir Isiwo?" Marcus looked up from the leather-bound menu, meeting her eyes over his thick glasses. "Yes, I'll have the Emperor's cut." Sophia's professional composure almost cracked. The Emperor's cut. A 48-ounce porterhouse, dry-aged for 90 days, served with truffle reduction and seared foie gras. It cost $500. A meal ordered for spectacle, for Instagram posts, for expense accounts. Not something a man in a faded plaid shirt ever ordered. She glanced instinctively at his scuffed boots, then back to his calm, unreadable face. Her mind was clearly racing. Was this a joke? A test someone completely delusional about what he was ordering? Hayes would crucify her if this man couldn't pay. But something in Marcus's steady gaze made her pause. No bravado, no delusion, just quiet challenge. It felt like a test, and Sophia made her choice. "An excellent selection, sir. How would you like that prepared? Medium rare." Marcus paused, then added the killer blow. "And a glass of the Chateau Margaux 1995 to accompany it." Now Sophia was truly stunned. The wine cost $3,000 a bottle. Even a single glass ran $300. Combined with the steak, this shabby stranger at the worst table was ordering nearly $1,000 worth of food and wine. Her training screamed to get the manager to ask for payment up front. Hayes's rules were crystal clear about high-value orders from questionable customers. But her instincts and a strange kinship with this quiet, observant man told her to trust him. "Right away, sir." As she keyed the order into the point-of-sale system, the computer automatically flagged the high value and sent an alert to the manager's terminal. Sophia knew Hayes would be incoming like a guided missile. Sure enough, he materialized at the wine station, his face flushed with anger as he blocked her path. Vance. The name came out like a curse. "What the hell are you doing? Table 32 just ordered the Emperor's cut and a glass of the 95 Margaux. Did you see that guy? He looks like he crawled out of a dumpster." "He seemed legitimate, Mr. Hayes. I didn't want to insult a guest." "Insult a guest." Hayes's laugh was ugly, venomous. "He's insulting us by being here. When he dines and dashes that $500 steak and $300 glass of wine are coming out of your paycheck. Every last cent." He leaned closer, his breath sour with coffee and malice. "You're already walking on thin ice with me, Vance. Don't make me push you off." Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through Sophia. He was right. If this man couldn't pay, she'd be financially destroyed. Her carefully balanced budget would collapse. But as she looked past Hayes's sneering face toward table 32, she saw the man watching them. He couldn't hear the conversation, but he could read the dynamic. He saw Hayes's aggression, her fear, and he gave an almost imperceptible nod of acknowledgement. He knew. He saw her situation clearly. I understand, Mr. Hayes. I take full responsibility. Hayes glared for another moment, then stalked away, muttering threats under his breath. Sophia retrieved the legendary wine with hands that only trembled slightly. The bottle felt like a holy relic as she used the Coravin to extract a perfect pour without pulling the cork. When she delivered the wine, Marcus was waiting with that same steady gaze. Everything all right, Sophia? Your manager seemed concerned. Everything's fine, sir. The professional mask snapped back into place. Mr. Hayes maintains very high standards. Marcus took a slow sip, eyes closed, savoring the wine's complexity. When they opened, they fixed on her face. I have a feeling you maintain higher standards than he does. The words hit like a gentle blow. He saw through her lies, her fear, her struggle. He saw her. For the rest of his meal, an unspoken understanding flowed between them. Marcus ate slowly, deliberately, savoring each bite of the perfectly prepared steak. He asked thoughtful questions about the city. Not tourist inquiries, but deeper curiosities about neighborhoods, communities' hidden corners. He listened, truly listened, to her answers. Sophia found herself relaxing, slightly drawn into genuine conversation with this paradoxical customer. He made her feel for the first time in months like a person rather than just a service provider. Other servers had begun whispering, pointing at table 32, where the shabby stranger dined like royalty. Some openly stared. The evening's entertainment, dinner theater for the wealthy. But Sophia treated him with the same respect she'd show any valued guest. Better, even. As Marcus finished his coffee, Sophia processed his payment. $847.50 paid in exact cash. No tip. It was deliberate, she realized. The action of someone who understood subtle power dynamics and was sending a specific message. The napkin was her only chance. As she cleared the final items from his table, her heart hammered against her ribs. This was insane. Passing a note to a complete stranger based on nothing but intuition and desperation. But Hayes was across the room schmoozing with city councilmen, and this quiet man with the intelligent eyes might be her only hope. As she reached for the empty wine glass, Sophia made her move. The napkin materialized from her apron pocket, folded tight, and slipped beneath the leather bill folder with desperate sleight of hand, born of weeks of planning this moment. Thank you for dining with us tonight, sir. I hope everything was to your satisfaction. Marcus's fingers closed around the hidden message that would change both their lives forever. Everything was perfect, Sophia. Absolutely perfect. As he stood to leave, neither of them knew that the 4 words written inside that napkin would trigger an investigation that would expose corruption reaching into the highest levels of Sterling Global Holdings, or that Sophia's desperate gamble would transform her from an invisible waitress into the whistleblower who brought down a criminal conspiracy that had been poisoning Chicago's food supply for months. The real test was just beginning. Marcus stepped into the rain-soaked Chicago night, his fingers tight around the napkin that felt like it might spontaneously combust. Under the pale glow of a street lamp, he unfolded the cloth with hands that hadn't trembled since his first board meeting 20 years ago. 4 words in desperate handwriting, "They're killing people." Not a plea for money, not a phone number, a declaration of war wrapped in linen. The rain drummed harder as Marcus walked 6 blocks to a dive bar called Murphy's, a place where billionaires didn't exist, and Jim could think clearly. He ordered whiskey neat and pulled out a burner phone, one of 3 he kept for situations requiring absolute discretion. "Arthur, Mixon, it's past midnight. Is everything? I need a complete background check on Sofia Rodriguez's server at the Platinum Grill, and Raymond Hayes, the manager. I want everything by sunrise." Silence hummed across the connection. Arthur Pendleton had been Marcus's chief operating officer for 15 years. He'd learned to trust his boss's instincts, even the seemingly irrational ones. "What happened?" Marcus read the 4 words aloud. "A server passed me this tonight. She risked everything to get it to me." That's concerning, but their killing people could mean anything. Food poisoning, safety violations. This woman was terrified Arthur, the kind of fear that goes beyond a bad boss. I watched the manager threaten her over taking my order. She was trapped, but she still did this. I'll have the files within 6 hours. What about Hayes? Complete financial audit. Every transaction, every account. And I want surveillance footage from the restaurant security system for the past 3 months. Jameson, if you're investigating your own manager based on an anonymous note, then I'm protecting my company from whatever cancer is growing inside it. Marcus ended the call and stared at the napkin. Sofia Rodriguez had placed her trust in a complete stranger wearing thrift store clothes. He couldn't let her down. At 6 a.m., Arthur's encrypted files arrived. The contents made Marcus's blood run cold. Sofia Rodriguez, 23. Dropped out of Chicago Community College's accounting program 18 months ago when her younger brother Luis was diagnosed with leukemia. She worked 3 jobs, the Platinum Grill weekend catering and overnight data entry, to pay for treatments their insurance wouldn't cover. Luis was in remission, but the medical debt had destroyed their family financially. Raymond Hayes presented a different picture entirely. On paper, he was a model employee. 5 years at Platinum Grill's stellar performance reviews, customer satisfaction scores in the top 10%. But his bank records told another story. Regular cash deposits always under $10,000 to avoid federal reporting requirements. A new BMW purchased 6 months ago. A condo in Lincoln Park that cost 3 times his documented salary. And most damning, a shell company called Midwest Food Logistics that had received over $2 million in payments from suppliers supposedly delivering to the Platinum Grill. Suppliers that didn't exist. Marcus's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. If you want the Truth Basement storage room at Platinum Grill, midnight, come alone. She was reaching out again. This time, she wasn't just passing information. She was requesting a clandestine meeting in the very building where she worked. The risk was enormous. At 11:45 p.m., Marcus returned to his disguise. Jim emerged from the Billionaire's penthouse and made his way through Chicago's empty streets to the service entrance of the Platinum Grill. The basement was a maze of storage rooms and mechanical equipment. Sofia waited near the walk-in freezer, her face pale in the fluorescent lighting. She wore jeans and a Northwestern University sweatshirt, civilian clothes that made her look even younger. "You came," she whispered. "You said they're killing people. I need to know what that means." Sofia led him deeper into the basement, past crates of wine and industrial kitchen equipment. In a forgotten storage room behind the main freezer, she showed him something that made Marcus's stomach turn. Cardboard boxes stacked floor to ceiling, each stamped with the logo of Midwest Food Logistics. Inside the boxes, expired meat products, some dating back 6 months. The smell was nauseating even in the cold basement air. "Hayes has been serving rotten meat to customers for 8 months. Sofia said, her voice barely audible. "He relabels the expiration dates and mixes it with fresh product so people can't tell immediately." Marcus examined the boxes with growing horror. Prime cuts of beef lobster tails lamb, all expired, all destined for the plates of unsuspecting diners who paid premium prices for what they thought was the finest cuisine. "How do you know this?" "He makes me help with inventory. I have an accounting background. He uses that. I reconcile his fake invoices with the real purchases. I've been documenting everything for weeks." She pulled out a manila folder stuffed with photographs, shipping manifests, and handwritten notes. Evidence of a systematic conspiracy to defraud customers and endanger lives. "The health department shut down our original supplier 3 months ago for bacterial contamination. Instead of finding a legitimate replacement, Hayes started buying expired product from a black market distributor. He pockets the difference, about $300,000 a month. Why haven't you gone to the authorities?" Sofia's laugh was bitter. "With what credibility? I'm a college dropout working 3 jobs to pay my brother's medical bills. Hayes is a respected manager with stellar reviews. Who would they believe? She was right. The system was stacked against her in every possible way. Besides, she continued, Hayes knows about Luis, about the medical debt. He's been threatening to fire me and have me blacklisted from every restaurant in the city. Without this job, my brother dies. The full weight of her situation crashed down on Marcus. This wasn't just courage. It was desperation refined into the purest form of bravery. Show me everything, he said. For the next hour, Sophia walked him through Hayes's elaborate fraud scheme. The fake invoices, the shell company accounts, the systematic rotation of expired product to minimize the risk of immediate food poisoning. It was criminal conspiracy on a massive scale hidden behind the veneer of Chicago's most exclusive restaurant. There's more, Sophia said, her voice dropping to a whisper. Hayes isn't working alone. I've seen him meeting with people after hours, men in expensive suits who don't look like restaurant suppliers. She showed him photographs taken with her phone through the basement windows. Hayes shaking hands with well-dressed strangers, exchanging envelopes, loading boxes into unmarked vans. I think this goes beyond just our restaurant. I think he's part of something bigger. Marcus studied the photographs, recognizing one of the men from financial magazines. Vincent Caruso, suspected of having ties to organized crime families that controlled food distribution in several major cities. This wasn't just fraud, it was racketeering. Sophia, Marcus said carefully, I need you to know that what you've done tonight, showing me this evidence, it's going to change everything. Are you prepared for that? She met his eyes with steel-hard resolve. People are getting sick. Last month, a family of 4 ended up in the emergency room after eating here. Hayes covered it up, paid them to stay quiet. But what happens when someone dies? Then we stop him. Tonight. Marcus pulled out his phone and made a call that would set everything in motion. Wednesday morning arrived gray and cold, matching the grim determination that had settled over Marcus Sterling. He sat in his penthouse office no longer, Jim the anonymous wanderer, but the full force of Sterling Global Holdings personified in a charcoal suit that cost more than most cars. Arthur Pendleton entered, carrying a tablet loaded with the night's intelligence gathering. The FBI and FDA are ready to move on your signal. But Jameson, we need to handle this carefully, for Sophia's sake. She's walking into a war zone today, Marcus agreed, and she doesn't know it yet. At 11:30 a.m., 3 black SUVs pulled up to the Platinum Grill's main entrance. The lunch prep crew stopped chopping vegetables as Marcus Sterling emerged from the lead vehicle, flanked by federal agents posing as corporate executives. Raymond Hayes rushed from his office, practice smile spreading across his face as he recognized the company's reclusive owner. The smile died when he connected the powerful man before him with the shabby customer from 2 nights ago. Mr. Sterling, this is unexpected. I'm sure it is Raymond. Marcus's voice carried the cold authority of a man accustomed to being obeyed. We need to discuss some irregularities in your operation. The restaurant fell silent. Servers stopped mid-stride. Busboys froze with plates in their hands. Sophia emerged from the kitchen, her face draining of color, as she recognized Jim transformed into the most powerful man in the building. Marcus walked deliberately to table 32, the wobbly corner table where everything had begun. I had dinner here Tuesday evening. Sat right here, actually. Fascinating experience. Hayes followed his face, cycling through confusion, fear, and desperate calculation. Sir, I'm not sure what. The Emperor's cut was excellent. Marcus continued conversationally. Though I'm curious about your supplier. Midwest Food Logistics, isn't it? The blood drained from Hayes's face completely. My office, he managed to stammer. No need for privacy, Raymond. I think transparency is called for here. Marcus nodded to Arthur, who opened his tablet and projected financial records onto the restaurant's main display screen. Bank statements, shipping manifests, photographs of expired meat, all of it laid bare for the entire staff to see. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus addressed the room. For the past 8 months, you've been unknowingly serving contaminated food to our guests. Your manager has been purchasing expired meat products and relabeling them to hide their condition. Gasps and angry murmurs rippled through the staff. Several servers looked physically sick as they processed what they'd been unwittingly part of. Hayes made a desperate play. That's impossible. Sophia Vance has been handling our inventory reconciliation. If there are irregularities, she would have caught them. Marcus turned toward Sophia, who stood frozen near the kitchen doors. This was the moment that would define her future. Miss Vance. Marcus said formally, "Did you know about the expired meat?" The room held its breath. Hayes watched with predatory eyes, certain he'd found his scapegoat. Sophia straightened, finding strength she didn't know she possessed. "Yes, sir, I knew about it." Hayes's smile turned triumphant. "There, she admits, I knew about it." Sophia continued, her voice growing stronger. "Because Mr. Hayes forced me to help hide it. He threatened my job and my brother's medical care if I didn't cooperate. But I've been documenting everything for weeks." She pulled out her phone and connected it to the display system. Photographs flashed across the screen. Hayes meeting with Caruso, expired meat being relabeled fake invoices being processed. "I've been waiting for someone with the power to stop this. Tuesday night, I took a chance on a customer who seemed different. I was right." Marcus felt pride surge through his chest. Sophia had turned Hayes's trap against him with devastating precision. "Mr. Hayes." Marcus said, his voice cutting through the stunned silence, "You're terminated immediately. Federal agents are waiting outside to discuss your activities with Midwest Food Logistics and your associates in the Caruso organization." Hayes tried to run. He made it 3 steps before 2 agents materialized to intercept him. As Hayes was led away in handcuffs, Marcus turned to address his traumatized staff. "I know this is shocking. I know some of you feel betrayed and used. But I want you to understand that one person in this room had the courage to risk everything to protect our guests and preserve the integrity of what we do here." His eyes found Sophia's. "That person is Sophia Vance, and I have an offer for her." The main dining room of the Platinum Grill had never hosted a scene quite like this. Staff members sat in chairs normally reserved for Chicago's elite, their faces a mixture of confusion, anger, and dawning relief as Marcus Sterling explained the scope of Hayes's betrayal. "Sophia," Marcus said, his voice carrying across the silent room, "would you join me?" She approached hesitantly, still processing the whirlwind transformation of Jim the mysterious customer into one of America's most powerful CEOs. For 8 months, this restaurant was part of a criminal conspiracy that put innocent people at risk, Marcus announced. One person had the courage to expose it, knowing she could lose everything in the process. That person saved lives. He turned to face Sophia directly. "I'm offering you a position as Director of Quality Assurance for all Sterling Global Hospitality properties. You'll oversee food safety protocols, supplier verification, and staff integrity across 43 restaurants in 12 cities." Sophia's breath caught. "Sir, I never finished college. You have something more valuable than a degree. You have integrity and the courage to act on it. The salary is $200,000 annually, plus full medical benefits for you and your family." Tears began flowing down Sophia's cheeks as the financial pressure that had crushed her for 18 months suddenly evaporated. "Luis's treatment will be covered completely through our executive health plan, and there's a one-time signing bonus of $500,000 to clear your existing medical debt." Sophia wiped her eyes, struggling to find words. "I accept. Yes, sir, I accept." The room erupted in applause from her fellow staff members, many of them crying as they witnessed their colleague's Cinderella transformation. But Marcus wasn't finished. "There's one more thing. The Sterling Foundation is establishing a whistleblower protection fund, a legal defense and financial support system for employees who report corporate misconduct. We're naming it the Sophia Rodriguez Foundation for Corporate Integrity." The applause grew thunderous. Sophia buried her face in her hands, overwhelmed by the magnitude of her life's sudden transformation. 6 months later, Marcus Sterling sat in his penthouse office reading Sophia's quarterly report on food safety compliance across the Sterling global empire. Her initiatives had revolutionized their supply chain verification process and identified 12 additional instances of supplier fraud at other properties. More importantly, the Sofia Rodriguez Foundation had received over 300 reports of corporate misconduct from employees across various industries. 17 major investigations had been launched based on tips from workers who previously had no recourse. A knock interrupted his reading. Sophia entered carrying a portfolio and wearing a sharp business suit that radiated the confidence of someone who'd found her true calling. "The Chicago Tribune wants to do a follow-up story," she reported. "They're calling you the undercover CEO and saying your disguise technique should be standard practice for corporate leadership." Marcus smiled. "What did you tell them?" "That you didn't go undercover to be a hero. You did it because you genuinely wanted to understand your own company. The heroism was accidental." "And what do you think?" Sophia considered this carefully. "I think heroes don't set out to be heroes. They just do what's right when the moment demands it. You could have ignored my note written me off as a disgruntled employee. Instead, you listened." She placed a photograph on his desk, Luis Rodriguez at his high school graduation, healthy and smiling. "My brother wants to study business administration. He says he wants to work for companies that do the right thing." Marcus studied the photo of the young man whose medical crisis had indirectly exposed a criminal conspiracy. "Tell Luis he'll always have a place here if he wants it. We need more people who understand that doing the right thing isn't optional." Sophia smiled. "He'd like that. We both would." As she left his office, Marcus returned to the window overlooking Chicago. Somewhere in the city below, other whistleblowers were gathering courage to speak truth to power. Other executives were learning that genuine leadership required more than corner offices and stock options. The napkin that had started it all was framed on his wall, now a reminder that the most important messages often came from the most unexpected sources. Sometimes it took a billionaire pretending to be nobody to discover that everybody mattered. The real wealth, Marcus had learned, wasn't in what you owned. It was in the positive impact you had on the lives of others. And Sofia Rodriguez had taught him that heroes didn't always wear suits and carry briefcases. Sometimes they wore worn-out shoes and carried the weight of the world on their shoulders, serving others with dignity, even when the world looked right through them. The test was over. They had both passed.